While some TV shows seem like they might never go off the air, Grey's Anatomy, anyone? There are other shows that ended their runs far too quickly, and while it might be difficult to accept, there is always the possibility that a show you love could get axed before its time, and sadly this happens quite a lot thanks to not enough people watching some of these awesome shows. That brings us to this video where we are breaking down 14 TV shows that met their finales way too soon. Landing the number 14 spot on our countdown is Friday Night Lights. Now you could argue that 5 seasons is a pretty good run, but this show was always on the chopping block. It was critically acclaimed when it premiered on NBC back in 2006, but the ratings were only so-so. However, what ultimately saved the show was when NBC teamed up with DirecTV for a cost-sharing partnership in 2008, where DirecTV would air the first episode and then they'd air on NBC a few months later. And you guys, it was so freaking good. In fact, it gained so much word-of-mouth steam during its run that Kyle Chandler even won an Emmy for his performance as Coach Taylor in 2011, which also just happened to be the same year the show ended. Talk about the little show that could. We could have watched the show forever.
Clear eyes. Full hearts.
Can't lose.
Coming in at number 13 is the WB show Everwood. The teen drama debuted on the WB back in 2002 and was one of the network's most beloved shows, which is why so many fans were shocked when it came to an abrupt end in 2006 after just 4 seasons. However, surprisingly, it wasn't canceled because of ratings or anything like that. In 2006, the WB and UPN announced that they were merging to make the CW, and Everwood just so happened to be one of the shows they decided to get rid of instead of bringing it to the channel. Womp womp. But don't feel too bad for that cast though, as many of them went on to other awesome things. You know, like that guy Chris Pratt, right? Might have heard of him?
Nowadays, everybody want to talk, but they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move the lips. Just a bunch of gibberish that they forgot about Dre.
Nabbing the number 12 spot on our countdown is the Carrie Diaries. Now, people were pretty skeptical when it was announced that the Sex and the City prequel would be coming to television, but it's safe to say that fans were pleasantly surprised with the adaptation, which premiered on the CW in January of 2013. The future of the show was somewhat iffy though after the first season, thanks to a less than desirable rating, but it was actually picked up for a second season. However, the ratings never really improved, so it was just canceled after the second season. And what makes this even more upsetting is that the show's creator revealed that we would have met Miranda if the show got picked up for a 3rd season.
And I really need you right now, because I don't know what to do.
That's basically how we felt when the show ended. Silver lining though, the first 2 seasons are streaming on Netflix, so you should definitely give them a watch. Coming in at number 11 on our countdown is ABC's comedy Trophy Wife. The comedy debuted in the fall of 2013 and starred Malin Ackerman as a young woman who marries a man who already had 2 ex-wives and a few kids under his belt. And as you could imagine, it was hilarious. But apparently that wasn't enough to keep it going though, since it was canceled at the end of the 1st season. Moving along to the number 10 spot, we have Lisa Kudrow's genius short-lived HBO series, The Comeback. The comedy that was a behind-the-scenes look at the reality show of a washed-up sitcom actress debuted in 2005 and was adored by critics, but failed to find a solid fan base during its run. However, even though the show was canceled after just 1 season, it slowly picked up a cult following and is even returning for an 8-episode run on November 9th.
Well, I got it! All right, you can't use that, okay? That was a crazy person, and you cannot use it.
Yes! We can't wait to see what kind of antics Valerie Cherish has been up to. Speaking of shows that were resurrected after a premature cancellation, we have Arrested Development coming in at number 9. The comedy debuted on Fox in 2003, with many critics claiming that the show was very ahead of its time, which is probably why people weren't too quick to embrace it back then. The comedy was then canceled in 2006 after just 3 seasons. However, between the show being released on DVD and streaming on Netflix, it picked up a passionate following, and a 4th season ultimately debuted on Netflix in 2013, and there has also been talk of a 5th season, so get excited. Coming in at number 8 on our list is the show Jack and Bobby, which debuted on the WB in 2004. The show centered on 2 brothers, one of whom would later become the President of the United States, but the viewer didn't know which was which. The drama was touching and thoughtful and poignant, but sadly viewers didn't really catch on to it, and it was canceled after just 1 season. But fun fact, the show starred a baby Logan Lerman, as well as Jessica Paré and John Slattery, who both eventually went on to star on Mad Men, which is no big deal. When the number 7 show on our countdown debuted, it's safe to say that no one realized how successful the cast would go on to be, even the actors themselves. My So-Called Life debuted on ABC in 1994 and starred 2 young up-and-coming actors named Claire Danes and Jared Leto. Claire played a teenager navigating high school and all the tricky situations that come along with that, while Jared played Jordan Catalano, aka the guy of her dreams, of course. Along with many of the other shows on this countdown, critics actually loved it, but despite that, My So-Called Life was canceled after just 1 season. The show's legacy lives on though, my friends, as its popularity has only grown over the last few years, not to mention the fact that Jared Leto went on to win an Oscar. Another gone too soon TV show that bred all kinds of Hollywood A-listers is Undeclared, which comes in at number 6. When the Judd Apatow-produced college-based comedy debuted on Fox in 2001, it starred a crop of unknown actors such as Seth Rogen, Jay Baruchel, Jason Segel, and Charlie Hunnam. However, today we know them as some of Hollywood's most sought-after actors. And in addition to the main cast, other actors such as Amy Poehler, Kevin Hart, and Busy Phillips also appeared on the show during its 1-season run. Coming in at number 5 is the ABC show Happy Endings, and don't let the name fool you, in no way does the outcome for the show reflect the title. The comedy premiered in 2011 and centered on the crazy antics of a group of 6 friends, and it was delightfully hilarious. Despite a rabid online fan base, the show was unfairly always on the chopping block and eventually got the axe in 2013 after 3 seasons. It's okay though, because the show, it gave us all kinds of amazing penny moments we still reminisce about to this day.
Well, the cleanse is making me feel pretty great myself.
Joss Whedon is one of the most important directors in showbiz today, thanks to the Avengers, of course, but his ill-fated show Firefly nabs the number 4 spot on our countdown. Yes, before he was working with RDJ and the folks over at Marvel, Joss made a little sci-fi show that aired for 1 season only on Fox in 2002. And as expected, dedicated fans of Joss loved this show, and let's not forget this was his highly anticipated follow-up to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but sadly, the show didn't go beyond its first 14 episodes. However, many of its stars have gone on to bigger and better things, plus fans still love this show just as much today as they did then. Oh, and a bonus point because Firefly featured a pre-high school musical Zac Efron. Ryan Murphy might have some hit shows now such as Nip Tuck, Glee, and American Horror Story under his belt, but before those shows found success, he was the man behind a teen drama titled Popular, and that show lands the number 3 spot on our list. Now, Popular premiered on the WB in 1999, but it only lasted 2 seasons. It did, however, find a solid fan base thanks to the show's heavy but still relatable themes. There were storylines about eating disorders, bullying, sexuality, and much, much more. Pretty much par for the course if you look back on Glee and what an impact that show has made. Again, this was a show that was simply too ahead of its time, so it sort of failed to gain stellar ratings. All right, landing the number 2 spot on our countdown is the cult favorite Veronica Mars. The show premiered on UPN in 2004 and did a perfect job of combining mystery, drama, and humor. The cast was full of, at the time, up-and-comers such as Kristen Bell, Amanda Seyfried, and more, and even survived the WB-UPN merger that we spoke about earlier. However, the show was ultimately canceled in 2007 after just 3 seasons, which left fans devastated. However, the Veronica Mars fan base only grew larger over the years, and they even pulled together to help raise money on Kickstarter to bring the movie to the big screen. Yes, Veronica Mars hit theaters in March of 2014 and picked up 9 years after the series originally ended, and they might be back for more. And coming in at number 1 on our Gone Too Soon shows is Freaks and Geeks. When the dramedy premiered on NBC back in 1999, critics loved the high school set show and its poignant and honest storylines, but it failed to find steady ratings. Which is kind of funny if you think about it, because the cast was full of some of today's biggest stars, such as James Franco and Seth Rogen, in addition to being created by Paul Feig, you know, the man who directed some of the biggest comedies of the last few years, Bridesmaids, The Heat. Yeah, it's safe to say NBC made a mistake, but hey, it looks like everything worked out just fine. And that brings us to an end of our breakdown of some of the most heartbreaking TV cancellations ever. Which one upset you guys the most? Or maybe there's one we missed on our list. Get talking in the comments below, and then click right over here to see TV high schools everybody wishes they could attend IRL, you know, in real life. Also, make sure to hit that subscribe button since you're here. I'm your host, Erin Robinson, and thanks for hanging, my friends.